Today I'm going to show you how to do this mug rug, and this is from the Making Waves table set. Now you can do just the mug rug if you like, or you can also do the placemat, and I have a table runner as well. But today's main focus is going to be starting you off with the mug rug, and then I'm going to show you how to carry the yarn for the striped version, because you do change the color every single row. Now the beauty of that is that you can carry the yarn so you don't have to cut it, so then you don't end up with tons of ends to weave in. And what's really cool is the way that I carry this yarn is I actually catch it, so that way you don't just have a strand that's hanging out. Instead it gets worked in with the stitches, and then it makes this piece completely reversible. So for instance, on this side you'll see that the little this is from the post stitches, this little chain right here is more prominent, and then when you flip it over, your other color can be the prominent one. So, as one of my testers said, depending on what mood you want, you can determine what side that you want it to be on. Now, if you're doing the solid color one, you won't have to worry about how to catch the color, but I will walk you through just how to get it started, because this is really easy. It's only a 1 row repeat after you get your initial row taken care of. So let's go over the materials for this real quick. And you don't need much for these. So I'm using the Lion Brand Comfy Cotton Blend, and this right here is the color Whipped Cream. Now this is considered the contrast color for the striped one. So for this one you need about 28 yards. And then for my main color, I'm also using the Comfy Cotton, and this is the Comfy Cotton Blend. This one is in the color Chai Latte, and it's considered the main color. And you'll need about 33 yards or 30 meters in this one. Now this yarn right here is wonderful for working for stuff in the kitchen, because it is a blend of, let's see right here, 50% cotton, 50% polyester. And it's a DK weight yarn, so it has a nice drape to it as we use, just a nice size hook. And, this is just really nice for kitchen-y type stuff. Now you're also going to need a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle, and I use one with a fairly sharp tip because we're going to need that for doing the beads. You'll need a US size G or a 4mm hook. This is my Furls resin streamline, and this is part of their Galaxy series. And I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly which one this is, but it's really pretty. And I am an affiliate for Furls, so I'll have a link down below if you do decide that you'd like to get your hands on one of these. And then for the beads, I have a box of beads that I got from one of the larger craft stores. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a measurement. It just says printed wood bead mix. And the holes are a little bit different. Like these little decorative ones seem to have a larger hole, but the little wood ones are just a little bit smaller. So when you're shopping for beads, I just recommend taking 2 strands of yarn that you cut off, just little strands, just to make sure that they'll fit in the bead that you choose to get, but won't slide off once you create a knot. So that's just how I used it. Just use your best judgment when you're looking for beads. And lastly but not least, just a tape measure. This way you can measure your gauge and measure along as you do it. Now the mug rug is pretty simple because I just do, I think it's about 15 rows. So it's really not hard and it works up quickly. And like I said, the same technique for this striping is also what you can do if you want to stripe your placemat or the table runner. So let's get started. So you have an idea of the color placement of this. The first 2 rows are done in the contrast colors. So we have 2 rows of the whipped cream, and then we're going to alternate the colors for a total of 13 rows. And then we're going to end with 2 rows in the whipped cream. So this way it has symmetrical edges. So to get started with whipped cream, I'm going to chain 29 chains. So 29 chains will get you started. For row 1, we're going to begin by doing a double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, in this chain right here, a double crochet. And then we're going to do a double crochet in the next chain. And now those 3 skipped chains that you started with are considered a double crochet. So those count as a double crochet. So technically you have 3 double crochets here. Then we're going to skip 2 chains. So 1, 2. And in this next one, we're going to work 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. So that's 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, chain 1, and then 2 double crochets. So 1, 2. Then we're going to, and that actually begins your pattern repeat where you're skipping 2 and then you're doing that little cluster. So we're going to skip 2 chains and we're going to work 1 double crochet in each of the next 3. So that's 1, 2, and 3. And then that's your pattern repeat. So we're going to do this again. So we're going to skip 2 chains and then we're going to work 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. That's 1, 2, chain 1, 2 double crochets. 1, 2, and then skip 2 chains, skip those 2, and do a double crochet in each of the next 3. So 1, 2, 3. And then last time, we're going to skip 2 chains and work that 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet cluster. 1, 2, chain 1, 2 double crochets. 1, 2. Then we're going to skip 2, and then you'll end with a double crochet in each of the last 3 chains. So 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to snug that up a little bit. And this is what your first row should look like. So you should have a total of those 3 little 2 double crochet chain 1 clusters. So 1, 2, 3. And then you'll have 3 double crochets, 3 double crochets, 3 double crochets, and end with 3 double crochets. Now for row 2, we're going to turn our work and we're going to chain 2. Now row 2 is going to be your pattern repeat. This is what you're going to do for every row. So again, the stitch pattern is super, super simple. So we're going to begin by working a front post double crochet around each of the next 2 posts. So a front post double crochet. So that's 1 and 2. Then in the chain 1 space right here, we're going to work this cluster again. So we're going to do 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. So that's 1, 2, chain 1, 2 double crochets. 1, 2. Now we are going to begin our pattern repeat. So we're going to skip these 2 double crochets and then we're going to work a front post double crochet around each of these next 3 posts. So a total of 3 front post double crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. Then we're going to skip these 2 double crochets and in that chain 1 space, we'll do the cluster. So 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. So 1, 2, chain 1, 2 double crochets. 1, 2. And that's your pattern repeat. So we'll do that one more time. We're skipping these 2 double crochets and working a front post double around each of the next 3. So 1, 2, and 3. Now we're coming up to the end here, so we're going to work that cluster in that chain 1 space. So 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, And then we're going to end by skipping those 2 doubles, and then we're going to work a front post double crochet around each of the next 2 posts. So 1, 2, and then we're going to work a double crochet in the top of that chain 3. So on top of the in the top of the turning chain, just work a double crochet. Then, before we finish this, because we are adding a new color, I'm going to take that back out, and I'm going to grab the Chai Latte. So grabbing the main color, so I'm going to add this color in. So I'm going to finish that last double crochet by adding in that color, and then I'm going to turn my work, and then we're going to do that row 2 repeat again. But now I'm going to show you how to carry your yarn. So begin by chaining 2. And then what I like to do is determine which side, because you want to have the yarn carried on the same side for each row, just for consistency's sake. So I'm going to actually just carry this in the front, and this will be the side that is always going to carry the yarn. Now, if you need to, you can always use a stitch marker to mark this side, so that way you do know and you have a little visual reminder. But so to carry the yarn, we're doing the pattern of a front post double crochet around each of those next 2 posts. So I'm going to go with this contrast color on top around that post, but then I'm going to move it to where it's on top of the hook like so, and I'm going to work my front post double. And you see how it catches that yarn, so it's not just hanging around. And then I'll finish out that the front post double crochet. And then I'm going to do that again. So yarn over with the yarn up top, just so that it catches. So this yarn is at the bottom of the hook there, goes on top of the hook there, and then you're catching it. And I'm doing that front post double. And now we're coming over to our cluster. So I'm going to just give this a slight tug, just so that it carries along nicely. Don't pull it too tight or this will pucker. And we're going to work that cluster. So with the yarn just carried up front so I can kind of see it, we're going to work the 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet. That's 1 and 2. Now, just making sure that this isn't pulled too tight. We're going to carry that, and we're going to do that next front post double crochet around each of the next 3. So with that yarn up front, insert that hook, leaving the yarn that way so it just weaves it in and catches it. And if it's a little loose, it's okay, because you're going to snug that up just a little bit after you finish these 3. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Now I'm going to snug it up just a little bit, just a slight pull. And a lot of times I'll even stretch out the whole piece so it just rests in there nicely. Then we're going to work that 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet cluster. So 1, 2, chain 1, 2 double crochets. 1, 2. Then we're going to work a front post double crochet around each of the next 3, catching that yarn. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, we'll give that a little tug. And then we're going to work our cluster in that chain 1 space. So 2 double crochets, whoops, we'll chain 1 and do 2 double crochets. Then we're going to end this row by doing the 2 front post double crochets there, catching that yarn just like so. 1 front post and 2 front posts. And then before I do that final double crochet in the top of that turning chain, I'm just going to make sure that it's nice and tidy. Do the double crochet in the top of that turning chain, and then when you finish that stitch, you're going to grab your contrast color and finish that stitch. And that's how you carry them across. So we'll chain 2. We're going to do that again, but this time you'll carry your main color on that back side. So this way the yarn is always carried on the same side. So when we're doing the next row where the yarn is carried in the back, we're going to do the yarn over because we're doing 2 front post doubles here. But as we insert our hook, we're going to put that yarn on top of the hook, kind of pull it back a little bit so that it goes along for the ride. And then you'll do your front post double crochet. And then you do that again. So with the yarn on top of the hook there, and you just kind of, it's almost like you're letting your hook get a hug from that yarn. And you go around that post and work that front post double crochet. So I'm going to give that a slight tug, not too tight, and then we'll carry it to the next cluster where we're going to do the 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. 1, 2, chain 1, 1, and 2. Now we're back to where we're doing 3 front post doubles. So the yarn over. Before you do anything, go ahead and grab that yarn so that way it's hooked around. Work your front post double crochet. And whoops, that's not how we do it. Okay. There we go. Go around that post. And then we'll do it once more, putting the yarn on top of the hook as we go around that post. And one way to check too is you'll see that yarn right there because you want to work that with your stitch. And then before I move to the next cluster, I'm just going to give it a little tidy tug, and then we'll work our cluster in the next chain 1 space. So 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. And then we'll continue in this pattern across. So one more time to catch it from the back. Insert your hook, put that yarn on top, kind of hold that, and then work that front post double. And we'll do that 3 times. There's those 3 front post doubles, nice little tidy tug, and then we'll work our last cluster. Oops, I feel like I split the yarn. There we go. 1, 2, chain 1, 2 more double crochets. And then I'm going to do 1 more. You can see it just tidies it up a little bit. And then those last 2 front post doubles. And as you're getting the hang of this, just take your time. And it gets a lot easier. It becomes almost like a little dance with the other colors that you're carrying. And then we're coming up to the very end, so be sure to catch that yarn when you do that last double crochet in the top of your turning chain. And before you finish that stitch, grab that main color and finish your stitch that way. And that is how you carry the yarn. Now you're going to continue in this repeat pattern until you have a total of 13 rows. And I'll meet you when we get to that point, so that we'll do the 2 rows in the whipped cream, and then I'll show you how to attach the fringe. So I've now worked up to a total of 13 rows, and now what I'm going to do is trim this main color because we're going to do 2 rows just in the white. So I'm going to grab my scissors, and I'm going to give this just a little bit of a tail, give it a trim, and now I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to just weave in this end as I was catching the others. So it just simplifies that a little bit. So it's one less end to worry about. So I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to work the pattern for 2 more rows. So I'm going to do that front post double, but I'm going to catch that yarn tail just so that it gets worked away with my work. And I like when there's one less end to worry about. So that's the second front post. Now I'm going to work that cluster, and so you'll just continue for 2 rows working with the whipped cream, and I'll meet you at the end of that. So after you finish that second row with the whipped cream, go ahead and fasten off, and then I'll show you how to do the fringe. To do the fringe is when you're going to be needing your beads. So you'll need a total of 10 beads, and this is, again, a totally optional step, but I really like the look that they give it. You're also going to need a tapestry needle, your measuring tape, but also what you could do is, so my mug rug hasn't been blocked yet, but when it's blocked, it's going to be pretty close to 8 inches. So what you could do is, instead of using a measuring tape, we can just use this as a basis for how long to cut our fringe. But you're also going to need your crochet hook just so you can help get that fringe in there. So I'm only going to show you one step on how to do the fringe. Well, I'm going to show you with one fringe as an example because each step is the same. So what you're going to do is take your main color, in my case the chai latte, and I'm going to cut 10 8-inch, or just a little bit longer than my mug rug, strands of yarn. So I'm going to show you just with one of them. We're going to cut this, and then this is when you want to decide which side you want to be your right side, because it's just a matter of how the knot is going to look. So what we're going to do is attach a fringe on each of the points. So we have the outside point, then there's this point, and the points are where the clusters are. And there's this part of the cluster, this cluster, and then on this outer part. And then when you flip your mug rug around, you'll do it the same way. One at this outside edge, one at the point with the cluster, 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 and outside edge. And you're only going to use one strand of yarn to create that fringe. Now you can do 2 if you like, it's totally up to you, but this is how I like to do it. So I'm going to fold this strand in half, just like so, and then I'm going to insert my hook where the cluster is. So right here, I'm going to insert that hook, grab that yarn, pull it through, and then I'm going to grab the yarn and get that little knot. So that way, this part of the knot shows on that side. And I know this is going to seem a little bit long as far as a strand to attach a bead when they're going to end up being, this short. But for me, it just makes it easier for making the knot afterwards and for threading the bead. So now you'll take your tapestry needle, thread that needle with your yarn, grab your bead, thread that through, and then I like to leave just a little bit of space. This is about maybe 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch, and I'm going to give it a knot there. Or you can choose to tie it up flush to the mug rug. It's whatever your preference is, but I like a little bit of space just because it gives it a little more of a dangliness effect. So now I'm just going to tie a knot. To secure it. And voila, there's your fringe. Now after you have that, you'll give it a trim, and I would wait until you have all of your fringes on your mug rug before you trim it. Just that way so that it's even. But I leave about this much space, so about 1/2 to 1/4 inch. Or you can do 3/4 of an inch, whichever you prefer. Let's just make it a little bit longer. Let's go 3/4. And then we trim it. And then there's your little fringe. So you'll just do that on each end. So I'm going to show you on a finished piece how it looks. So this way you have one on each one. And again, if you wanted to put your fringes to where they're right up there, you can do that. I like the kind of dangly effect of it. But that's it for the Making Waves mug rug. I do hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you did, please give it a like, a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you later. Happy crocheting. Bye-bye.